Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So we are back with another episode of the Rumblecast. We are delaying it this week to Wednesday because of the release of season 2. We just wanted to get like an initial vibe of the season with the Chimaera, the new map, of those stuff. But here it is, and next week we should be back on the Monday schedule. But nonetheless, we have some awesome topics for you guys today. On my side of the channel, we are going to talk about the Chimaera. So we are going to start with a Chimaera review. And then we are going to talk about what's next for Rumble. So this is what we know that is coming from now on, and give us like give you guys just like a little bit of a timeline of when to expect things, even though we don't have exact release dates. And then we are going to talk about our top 5 favorite spells in the game. And as always, I'm joined with Excoundrel. What are your topics today? I'm so happy to talk to you every week.
I know, I feel like it was something missing for me this week when I didn't get to do it on the weekend. But I think we made the correct decision. We both needed a bit of time to kind of absorb Arathi Basin in season 2, and also look at the feedback from the community, and kind of like figure out what we wanted to talk about. I was also away at Peppa Pig World this weekend, so I couldn't play much PvP, and so I kind of said to you on Monday night, I was like, I need to wait until Tuesday to film this because I need to play some more PvP and kind of understand things. But anyway, this is kind of what's on my side of the podcast. It's a Arathi Basin review, so looking at the new map. What do we like? What do we don't like? Is it better than an Alterac Valley?
It is.
It is, yeah. Spoiler alert, it kind of is. In some ways. How to fix PvP. Now, this has been a bit of a hot topic. As of the day that we are filming this, there has been an Arclight Energy video that's kind of talked about PvP.
Arclight battery.
I then did a little bit of a reaction to it as well. So I might kind of cover some similar points that I did in that video. And then the balance changing philosophy of Blizzard. Now, we've had a conversation with the developers. We can't tell you too much about that specifically, but I think we can all kind of allude to what we think the balance change philosophy is like for Warcraft Rumble, just based on the frequency of balance changes that we've had across the beta and across the live game. And I'd love to get like obviously all of your guys' input as well. We love reading the comments. We love kind of like listening to your guys' opinions off the back of the podcast too. So we should always encourage more community discussion, because the more people that comment and express their thoughts, the more likely it is Blizzard is going to like pick up that feedback and maybe think about implementing changes.
Yeah, I'm very excited to talk about the different topics on your channel, especially the how to fix PvP one. So like you said, you recorded a video, but that I didn't get to record a video. I didn't want to do a reaction to a reaction of the Arclight Batteries video, but I was just like, I'm going to talk about it on the Rumblecast. So we are going to talk about that. I'm super excited for that. And I'm also excited to talk about the balance change philosophy. And like you just said, guys, make sure to tell us down below. We know that the devs are listening to the podcast, so I think it's a good way of communicating. I've actually, someone asked me, I was like on stream, I was saying everyone, oh guys, feel free to share your thoughts to Blizzard in a respectful manner. That is really important. But I was like, please feel free to share your thought. And people were like, yeah, but where are we supposed to share our thoughts, right? Because like we do have a Discord, but it's not official Discord, official Rumble Discord. But here on the comments here, it's another good place. We have a little bit of conversation with the devs. So yeah, feel free to share all your thoughts in the comments down below on my side or on the Excoundrel side, and we just love conversing with you guys. But anyway, done with the intro. I'm gonna say it now because I keep forgetting, but go subscribe to Excoundrel if you guys want to see the second part and some other awesome videos. And yeah, let's start with the Chimaera, which is our first topic today. So the Chimaera just released. Let's just quickly explain what this Chimaera do. Oh, well, first of all, we do get the Chimaera with the new guild War Chest that came with season 2. And we cleared the 10k in like a day, I think, in my guild. So we immediately had access to the Chimaera. There was also a bundle where you could get, I think, 50 or 13 or 14 stars for the Chimaera. Yeah, but what does the Chimaera do? So the Chimaera 5 cost gold mini. It's a flying beast mini, so from the beast faction. And what it does, and I'm actually going to put up the video on screen. It has 2 heads. One of the head does poison damage, and the other head does elemental chain lightning type damage. So just a little bit of clarifications. And Excoundrel, if I'm missing anything, I know you also have all the information, so you can help me with that. But the chain lightning does 150 damage at level 1, so that is exactly the same amount of damage as a chain lightning. Okay, so Yeah, that's really good. So if you can actually get a single hit, it's like a chain lightning, which is like a two gold refunded, and it can jump up to 20 targets. So that's pretty much a full chain lightning. It's gonna hit every single target. And the other head, the poison one, does obviously poison damage. I think it does 50, which is less. I'm not sure about the poison damage, but it applies 2 stack of poison. So I thought it was going to be 1, but it's 2, and it focuses the most health mini that is in the targeted range of the Chimaera. So this is important because the most health mini is going to be the mini that's most vulnerable to poison. So that's an important note. And yeah. Oh, about the health. I'm going over everything that is important about the health. The Chimaera is on the glass cannon side, where it gets one shot by a safe pilot with stealth. So this is going to be a big point of discussion with the gnomish cloaking device. So the crash damage doesn't one shot, but then the gnomish cloaking device will. And yeah, I guess I could talk about talents. Am I missing anything else with the Chimaera?
No, I think like one of the things to just also mention is that the chain lightning will always target the lowest HP minion first.
Okay.
And it technically has, I think, like up to 20 something targets that it can hit. So it can basically hit as many targets as the normal chain lightning spell can, which obviously makes it very powerful against squad minis. I mean, the whole point of the Chimaera is that it is a kind of tank buster with the poison, but also has that ability to clear out squads.
Mm-hmm. And then it's going to be obviously weak to all of those range high DPS anti-air units, such as obviously the Dark Spirit Troll, but even stuff like the Pyromancer or other stuff that does elemental damage is also going to be good at taking down the Chimaera, because it does not have resistant and it does not have armor. So any anti-air unit is going to do extremely well against the Chimaera, or any single target or single unit that is good with anti-air is going to deal well with the Chimaera. So like, for example, Harpies are terrible because of Chimaera, right? Yeah, I guess we'll jump to the talents, and then we'll talk about where do we see the Chimaera, where does the Chimaera fit. We're going to talk about if she's good or not. Yeah, we're going to talk about that, but let's just jump to the talents quickly. There's 3 talents as always. We have and we'll quickly go over them. So the first one is Leviathan, where the Chimaera gains 10% additional health per deploy. So this is exactly like Hogger, and just like the Hogger, it stacks after 3 charge or 3 deploy. We have the Frost Shock, where the lightning is going to apply frost on hit. So to me, that's similar to like the Ogre Mage. And we have Corrosive Breath, which the poison spit inflicts twice as much damage, which is similar to one of the Spiderling's talent, I believe. So I think all of those talents are almost like recycled. But nonetheless, I think they're cool. But for me, I think Leviathan is the one that's the best. I think none of them are fantastic. I think they're cool, but not great. But I think Leviathan is just the best because is the most consistent. But it's like you're not going to gain the same amount of value as you would with Hogger. And like same goes for Frost Shock. I felt like Frost Shock, normally the chain lightning attack kills what needs to be killed. And what can't be killed with a Frost Shock, usually the poison does the job to kill those. So for me, Frost Shock is kind of underwhelming, even though I like the idea. And then Corrosive Breath, well, I haven't tried it, I think. But what I've been told is that it's a bit underwhelming, but perhaps in a poison deck, we could see it. So which one was your favorite? Which one did you pick first, actually?
I actually chose Leviathan, and I haven't actually taken my second talent yet, so I still have the option for a second talent. I think I'm probably going to go Corrosive Breath. Mm-hmm. Look, I will be... I mean, I'll be quite brutal, I guess. I think these are kind of shitty talents. I think like there are a lot of talents in the game that do really alter the way that a unit is played. Mm-hmm. And I think they probably had a bit more freedom to maybe try something with the Chimaera. I get that the actual unit itself is really interesting. I just think that these sort of I don't know, they're quite low impact talents. I think that I don't really think your Leviathan is going to change regardless of which talent you pick in this situation. I think like ultimately none of these massively change the way that Leviathan feels. I would say for PvE, Corrosive Breath is by far and away the best. It's going to work very similarly to Harpies. Poison in PvE in general is a really broken mechanic. So corrosive breath for me in PvE is just much better. I think sometimes we undervalue Frost. I think Frost is quite a powerful status effect. But as you said, like Chain Lightning generally is going to sort of kill. I mean, the only synergy that it has is it means that you can stack up poison more quickly because you'll be able to slow them down. But then if you want to stack up poison more quickly, you just take corrosive breath and it doesn't really matter, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think like, you know, Frostshock's definitely got some utility, and Leviathan, you know, I think on paper sounded really good, but in reality there isn't. You know, you're gaining what 45 HP at base level 1 every time, and then so you're gonna get
it's
a
barely
net,
noticeable, right?
yeah. So you're gonna get a net increase of what, maybe like 135, 140 HP, which obviously scales with every level that you add to Chimaera, but then obviously the damage that your opponents have scale as well. So it, you know, it's all relative at that point. So yeah, you're gaining what, like a total of, unless I don't think it's multiplicative, it's just additive. But regardless, I think like you're just getting essentially a very small amount of HP in addition to what you already have. It's quite a low HP target. I genuinely, for 5 gold, I would have liked this to be more of a flying fortress. You know, not quite Gargoyle Flying Fortress, but I would have much preferred this to be a bit more difficult to take down. I get that it has much greater offensive capabilities than a lot of other flying units, but just feels a little too squishy to use in pretty much any deck, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, and like talking about the Gargoyle, I think that's when we're gonna see the Frost Shock maybe like be good if the Gargoyle ever come back in the meta. So like we have the Dragon's Tower right now, which completely obliterates the Gargoyle, but then once we do get the Rocket Towers, I think the Rocket Towers should do elemental damage, right? Is it physical or elemental?
I actually don't know. I've always wondered this. It would be weird if it was elemental.
It would be weird if it was.
I thought it was physical personally, just because
it's like shrapnel. No. But at the same time,
yeah,
the safe battle crash is elemental, but was physical before, so it's hard to. We need to ask the boys at Warcraft Rumble.gg.
Yeah, so I think like it's obviously fire explosive damage is elemental, but I feel like they've got this thematically different tower that's elemental. It would be, I feel like thematically, if you wanted a different tower from the normal base guard tower, you'd make it physical. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure.
I'm hoping it's physical. So then, yes, I think having an AOE physical damage is very interesting.
Yes.
While if it's elemental, it's extremely close to what the Dragon Towers are doing right now, other than the fact that the Dragon Tower does more damage up close than up far. So yeah, guys, I will actually ask the people at the guys at WarcraftRumble.gg, the website. They usually have that information, and if I do have it, I'm gonna put it on screen right now there. Yeah, so you guys will know, but we don't know yet. But if Gargoyle comes back into the meta, if we're going back to the point we were discussing, then I think Frost Shock might be good, because slowing down some stuff like Gargoyle can be extremely, extremely good, especially because the Gargoyles you can be supported with stuff that, like having a Chain Lightning, can be very good with. So yeah, maybe. But let's talk about the overall power of the unit. Do you want to take it away?
Yeah, I wanted to add one little addition to the Gargoyle discussion, is that I actually don't even think it needs the Frost to be good versus Gargoyle. Like, I think, like, ultimately it's already poison damage, which is elemental, and it's already the Frost damage, which is elemental. So I think a Chimaera should quite swiftly deal with a Gargoyle, regardless of whether you have Frost or not. I think, obviously, if you're in dire situations and your Gargoyle is whacking your base, then yeah, Frost is probably going to come off pretty good. But at that point, I think if you let a Gargoyle get that close to your base, you've kind of already lost. In terms of overall power level of the unit, I'd rate it pretty low. Blizzard were quite open with this. They did say that they intended this to be an anti-squad unit, so it was never intended to be like a catch-all flying powerhouse, deals with anything that's thrown its way. It was very much intended to be an anti-squad unit. The thing is that squads just aren't exactly that frequent in the meta. I think, like I said, I actually think for PvE, high power level unit, it does a lot. And actually, you very, very rarely do you get the AI correctly use things like safe pilot, etc., to deal with your backline. So in PvE, I really highly rate this unit because it just does a lot for you, and there's often a lot of spam, and you'll find that the AI is quite good at grouping up units. Like for instance, in Dead Mines, I actually think this unit is insanely good in Dead Mines because there's just so many grouped enemies all the time, right? So you run this plus some kind of unbound tank, and it can just decimate entire waves, including things like annoying mountaineers, etc. But in PvP, next to useless, because in PvP there are just so many good ways to deal with it right now. And so I think like it depends on what you're wanting to use the unit for. I think it's good. I think it's very, very good in PvE, and I think it's very mediocre / worse than mediocre in PvP.
I actually, and I knew you were gonna say that, I don't think it's as bad as people make it seem to be in PvP. If we compare it to like, there's some very, very bad unit like Warsong Grunts, Angry Chicken Army, stuff like that. It's like I think it has some play. It's never gonna be like an actual like big wind condition, I think. I kind of wish it had just a little bit more range. I think that would have been cool, because like the biggest issue is that it always has to be protected with a tank in front, because if anything that hits air actually does hit the Chimaera, well then the Chimaera is dead. For example, the meat wagon, right? The meat wagon has extremely long range, but it's fine because if a unit gets close, it gets completely obliterated, right? And I think the Chimera has the same thing, or should have been the same thing, where like it can attack from very far, but if something gets closer with like a ranged unit, then it would destroy the Chimera. So that's the way I would have decided. Or I mean, there's obviously so many other ways of buffing a Chimera, but I mean, we're gonna talk about balance change on your side of this channel. It's like when we're seeing a unit now, we don't even know if it's gonna be buffed. So is there even a point to talk about that? I don't know.
I think you're right in your statement that it's not as bad as maybe everyone makes it out to be. But I think that you also have to put it in context of what you're comparing it versus, right? And a Griffin Rider with extended range almost trades with this, almost.
Oh yeah,
a Griffin Rider extended.
Murlocs with bubbles.
Yeah, Murlocs with bubbles basically almost trade with this. And you've got to compare it to the fact it's 5 cost. Another 5 cost unit that is a crowd clearer is Huntress.
Ogre Mage.
Huntress. Yeah, sorry, Ogre Mage. Yeah, but Ogre Mage is, I think, a little bit less. I'd almost say that this is better than Ogre Mage, but it's a difficult thing, because Ogre Mage, you like you said, you get Ogre Mage for the frost mostly, and then this has got a bit more.
Yeah.
But you know, I think like let's put it in context of the big 5 cost power unit, which is Huntress. Huntress clears squads. It is tankier. It has resistant, so it makes it resistant to things like safe pilot attacks, etc. It has much more useful talents, including improving its single target damage. It has extended bounces if you really want to go full anti-squad, or it has Shadow Meld that basically makes it so that you get a guaranteed ambush, increased damage on first hit, and also it's much more difficult to engage in combat. And it beats Chimaera one-on-one. So you know it's one of those units that you have to compare it to its essentially its next cost slot in terms of what you use it for. And the only upside, the big difference is that obviously Chimaera is elemental and it will deal with like a footman squad, whereas Huntress will not deal with a footman squad because obviously Huntress is all physical. So obviously there's a bit of a difference in terms of damage it's dealing, but most people right now are going to be running Huntress over Chimaera, which means that I just don't think for the cost you can fit it in anywhere very easily. Obviously people have tried to make it work in Ren decks because it drops down to 4, but even in Ren decks, I think it's better than Drake, personally. I actually would rate this above Drake. I think Drake's actually quite a poor unit right now. So if I was looking for a Drake replacement in a Ren deck, I think Chimaera works quite well.
Yeah.
But yeah, ultimately, it's still just too easy to kill, and you feel bad playing it when it just gets like safe piloted or anti-Huntress, or even like you said, Troll Headhunter.
Should it have been resistant? If it would have been resistant, it would have been safe from safe pilot. But then all the other stuff that does counter it really easily would have still been able to counter it. So like Dark Patrol, Murlocs, Griffin Rider, all of those stuff would still, or even Huntress, all of those would still destroy the Chimaera. But just the safe pilot interaction would be better.
Yeah, and so the funny thing is, I like that you mentioned that, because I do genuinely think that there is a lot more ability to play around the physical damage threats to this, like Troll Headhunter, like Huntress, because you can play your Quill Ball, you can unbound tank for just a moment to just kind of get this thing, the aggro off this thing, whereas you actually cannot really play around Safe Pilot most of the time. There is the only play around you can. The only thing you can do with Safe Pilot is either you Safe Pilot their Safe Pilot immediately so that it can't get its second hit off, or you play a Quill Ball to try and draw the attack. But if you Safe Pilot right on top of the Chimaera, even if you play a Quill Ball, it's very likely that the AoE damage is going to catch the Chimaera anyway, especially if they're safe piloting just in front of the flight path of the Chimaera. And so it's just, Safe Pilot's just difficult to play around. So I think, Resistant might actually be a relatively solid shout in that sense.
Yeah, and well, you forgot to mention Chain Lightning with stun is pretty good. I run Chain Lightning in so many decks right now. In my Karen list, I run Chain Lightning because the Safe Pilot doesn't kill the Dark Patrol, and then you Chain Lightning to cancel the Safe Pilot, and so I think that same interaction works. But like, as a 5-cost gold mini, you would expect it not to get one shot by the Safe Pilot with Gnomish Cloaking Device. I think that feels really bad. And even if you get, don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure even if you get max charge on Leviathan, you still get one shot. I'm pretty sure.
Yes,
so,
I think that because the Safe Pilot damage is just very, very high.
Yeah,
but I agree. There are counters to it, but then you're using those counters to keep a half health Chimera left alive, and then it dies in one hit to a Griffin Rider, or it dies in one hit to a Troll Headhunter, or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But still, I think the unit is better than what people think. People kind of like write it off and says it's the worst unit ever. Like, it has some uses in Ren list, like you just said, instead of Drake. But it's not a deck defining unit for sure by any means. It's not. And there's actually one more list I wanted to try, but like, that's the issue with, and we are gonna go back to balance change once again on your side of the channel. But like, there's some fun list I want to try. With like Hogger Chimera, right? Where you play the Hogger talent that gives Bloodlust to friendly nearby beasts when Hogger dies, and then you would play the Angry Chicken Army with Sacrifice, so then the Chimera could heal back health by eating the chickens. But like, I mean, are we ever gonna see this deck being like viable if we don't see any balance change? Like, that's, I don't know. It's I'm still gonna try it because I think it sounds extremely fun, and I think that's one of the good part of Chimaera is that it's extremely fun, extremely awesome design. I don't know. I guess I don't want to go again in the balance change conversation because we are doing it on your side, but yeah, I'm excited actually to talk about that.
Yeah, I think there's lots of things that they can do to Chimaera, but the general takeaway, especially from the question you initially posed, was, is it good? It's okay. Good in PvE. It's underwhelming in PvP. Not unplayable, but underwhelming. And I think maybe the better way of framing it is the meta just does not suit Chimaera at the moment. There is just too many answers for Chimaera that are popular in the meta, and it, like I said, Poise is an anti-squad mini. Squads are not that much of a problem especially because, like you said, most people run Blizzard, most people run Chain Lightning. People are already running anti-squad tech in their decks,
or safe.
Yeah, or safe, literally, or safe.
Yeah, and I just like, and I think you said it perfectly with the fact that the meta doesn't suit the Chimaera, but I think when you release a mini, you should be at least aware of that, right? So like, I don't know.
It's difficult to say. I mean,
it is,
and I'm not gonna speak too much about this because we'll talk about it on my side. But I mentioned on the video that I did today, reacting to Arclight Rumble, I said at the very end of the video, I said it's important to try and fix PvP, because if you can allow more players into the top ranks and you can get more players playing frequently at the top level, you open the gates for more experimentation. In general, PvP is quite siloed because the top players and the top creators generally just tend to mimic each other. And there isn't that much experimentation at top level because no one really wants to queue for 25 minutes to then just get steamrolled because you're trying to play a stupid unit that you're just trying to see if it works. Or you're going to get, you know, beluga blasted by deep breath level 10 whales all over the place. So, you know, it's one of those things that the more people that we get at the top levels, the more likely it is that there'll be experimentation. And when we say experimentation, we mean actually testing a mini properly against equal level competition. Because even when I'm testing minis at like the level 5 cap, it doesn't feel like I'm testing them properly because, you know, you're just generally better than most of the people that are playing in those honor ranges. So really, you want people playing at the 3K plus honor range so that we can have more experimentation. We can see a little bit more, you know, different answers being brought to the meta, different ways of solving the meta. And I think that's what I'm mostly looking forward to, is just having an extra way of getting people into the top flight so we can see a bit more experimentation, and maybe even just find a way to break out the meta that we're in by just having someone bring a new idea that works really well, you know?
No, I completely agree, and that's why, for me right now, I think PvP is so fun, because I'm trying a lot of different decks, because I don't feel like whatever I play, I'm gonna get destroyed by the same Baron list every single time, right? On Alterrock Valley, I remember the game started, you saw a Baron, you were like, okay, well, GG. Like, whatever I do, if I do a single mistake, I'm not gonna take back control. I guess we could talk a little bit more with on your side with the Arathi Basin review, but for me, I'm just talking about the aspect of experimenting. That's like the best part for me. There's so many decks. I have like 10 decks in the chamber that I want to try. I have some deck ideas that I want to put together, stuff like that. It's so fun right now, and I think we need more of that to make PvP just better. And we are actually going to talk about that, on how to fix PvP on your side. So I guess we'll jump to the next one. This is probably going to be a shorter one because we don't have as much info, but I think it was important to share what's next for Rumble. And this is we are first going to give you guys what we know that is coming. And please take everything with a grain of salt, because there's a lot of things that we are kind of insinuating or deducting from the information we have. So we have partial information. We're trying to get, and we get some more. We try to reach a conclusion from partial information. So yeah, just disclaimer here. The first thing is, throughout the season, and this is confirmed 100%. I just want to talk quickly about the next thing. So the next thing that we are getting in exactly 11 days and 6 hours is new towers. Okay, so we are getting new towers, and it's actually going to be the rocket towers that we're getting in PvP. So we just had a discussion earlier. We don't know if the rocket towers is elemental or physical, but the rocket tower does an AoE. If you guys have not finished the campaign or have not encountered the rocket towers, it does a circle. So it selects a target, it has a high range, and then tosses a rocket, which takes maybe like a second before it detonates, and then it like detonates in like a circle, right? So big AoE tower, just like the Dragon Tower, but instead of being a cone from the initial point, it can be far away, right? So if you have something that is locked onto the tower, but then the tower is locked onto something that is further, well, then your melee units might survive. So something like a Chromash can actually shred a tower, while Dark's Patrol is tanking with the Big Bad Voodoo Tower or something like that. So there's unique interaction. I think rocket towers are, even if they're still elemental damage, I think they will be much better than the Dragon Towers. And it's going to be... so this is actually great, because I think every 2 weeks from here, it's just going to be better. The meta is going to get better, right? Because right now we have this meta, so we still haven't solved the meta. But then in 2 weeks, the tower changes for the better. So we're going to have a new meta. And then 2 weeks after that, we are going to lose fortification, so we are going to have a clean fight, which means no modifier, which is also another thing that gets better. So I guess in season 1 they made things that made it worse, and now they're kind of like artificially removing them in season 2, but still, nonetheless, it makes the it's gonna make the meta better. And I think having a season that every modifier every 2 weeks makes the meta better is great. I don't think we're gonna have the same feeling at the end of the season that we did at season 1 because of those changes. Obviously, fortification being removed doesn't change as much. It makes it so the left tower is easier to destroy. But okay, once again, we're going to talk RFD Basin in just a minute on your side of the channel. So yeah, fortification being removed will be great. And then 2 weeks after that, we are getting another new season, right? And we're already almost 1 week in. So I don't know. I think this is going to be great. We're going to have, this is going to be a great season. I think it's going to be much better than the first season. And then once we do finish that season, we are going to get with season 3, and then we have the date here. Oh wait, actually I haven't checked. This is the first time I see the official date because we have the new season that rotate. But on the 21st of January, the season 2 will end, and we will have season 3, and we will have a new map, which is Hillsbrad Foothills, which we already had, which you and I already played on very briefly, might I add. But on my channel, if you check my first and second video, I believe it was on that map. So if you guys want to see what that map looks like, it's a great map. It looks like the Harvest Golem map in the campaign, where it's like 2 lane, but then there's a middle lane, which is just the gold mines. So yeah, we're going to get that in season 3. And we are going to get, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think we're getting Emperor Thorson, right? On season 3?
Yes, we're getting a leader next, so I think it is Emperor Thorson, because then after that it's going to be Fairy Dragon, which is the unit coming out after Emperor Thorson. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming up. You've kind of talked about most of it realistically. We're getting some big meta changes across the board. I think rocket towers are my least favorite towers, but
I agree,
because I just think they're just annoying in general. There isn't a really good way to play into them. You have to kind of, it's more about, again, it's kind of more about unbound tanking stuff to draw the rocket away from the main body of your units going towards the enemy base. But we will be getting Emperor Thorson as a new leader as well, like you mentioned. Hillsbrad Foothills is very interesting. Hillsbrad Foothills is a map that actually you do need to take towers to go for the base. So there is no way to get to the enemy base without taking towers.
That's true.
You have to have some kind of plan to attack the towers. You can't like just circumnavigate towers on the map. So that kind of adds a new dynamic to it, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, I think like a lot of new stuff coming. I really do like, as we mentioned, I do like the fact that we're having a big kind of I'm putting in inverted commas, is a decent PvP shift. At least, at least it doesn't feel so frantic in this current PvP meta. The Alterac Valley PvP meta was just frantic and annoying. But there's loads of good stuff coming on. I don't think I can touch on anything anymore. I think you kind of covered off most of those new upcoming sort of changes in PvP and some of the changes that we're going to get going out through season 2 and into season 3. But I think like Emperor Thorson is obviously going to be the big new unit, the leader that's coming out, a new Blackrock leader, because we need a new Blackrock leader. We've only got 2 at the moment. We kind of discussed him on our very first podcast about what we thought he might do, what kind of abilities he might have. So if you guys haven't caught the first episode, you can go back and watch the first episode of the podcast. We talk a little bit about Emperor Thorson there, and kind of go into detail about what we maybe think he does. We have no idea, even having had chats with Blizzard, they have not revealed any information about Emperor Thorson. So I'm kind of excited to see when they do reveal his abilities, what it actually looks like. So
yeah, I want to jump afterwards into what we can deduce from that. But yeah, just a quick question. So we are getting Emperor Thorson, which is going to make it so all factions are going to have 3 leaders. So we're going to be at 15 leaders. And my question is, what's next? Are we adding more leaders to the faction, or is that the end? Are we going to perhaps add a faction? I don't think we are going to add a faction because there's so many different things, the way it's implemented and stuff in the game. So I'm guessing we are going to have a 5th leader, or I just wondering because like here, right, in the slot in the UI, there's only 3. I mean, they still have to change stuff if they add like a 4th leader for every faction. So do you think they're going to add another leader for other faction? Are they going to stop there? Have they not thought about it? What do you think?
I think we actually recently talked about this. And I was pretty convinced. I'm pretty convinced that we might end up getting another faction at some point. The reason I thought that we might get another faction is just simply because the Legion felt like a good addition. Also, you got to remember we are also getting. We've got to mention we are getting a new dungeon. We're getting Scholomance, which is coming out at some point, but over the next couple of months, we're going to be getting Scholomance before Molten Core. So that's a new dungeon that's going to be added to the pool. I cannot wait for a new dungeon.
Before Molten. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, we are getting it before. From what I remember, we're getting it before. We are getting it before Molten Core.
But wait, Thorison, he's from Blackrock?
Yes, so Thorison's from Blackrock. He's from, not from Molten Core, but he's from the region of World of Warcraft where Molten Core is located. To actually get access to Molten Core, you have to do some quests in Emperor Thorison's dungeon. But yeah, so it is linked. But I think we're getting Scholar. I think from what I remember on the post, the roadmap was that we would get Scholomance before we got Molten Core.
I thought it was after.
I'd have to go back and check. I thought we were getting it before Molten Core. You talk. I will go have a look now.
Okay, well, kind of important to check because my point was, I thought that we were gonna get a Molten Core with Emperor Thorison, right? And
I thought Molten Core was early next year.
Yeah, isn't that January? Early next year? End of January?
No, I thought like end of March. I thought we were getting it.
Okay, well, I don't know. I thought so. What I was actually deducing, and please, guys, tell us what your thoughts are on that. But I was thinking that thematically they would release Molten Core or do a Molten Core season with the release of Thorison, and then perhaps we would get the raid during that season. I think that kind of makes sense. That would be like, what, 3 or 4 months into the game? I thought raid was before, but if not, that means it's going to be so end of January, so like start of March, we're going to have Scholomance with the Fairy Dragon.
I'm having a look right now. I'm trying to find the original article.
So
I can't remember where that original article was on. I thought it was on the Warcraft Rumble website, but it just seems to have disappeared.
But yeah, the raids are supposed to come soon enough, but now we're trying to find out if it's going to be during season 3 or if it's not season 3, it should be season 5 is what you're telling me. Because if it's not season 3, then season 4 is Scholomance with Fairy Dragon, so it's going to be season 5.
Yeah, it's not really saying. It just kind of says in a list there's new seasons. So
it would make sense that it releases with Thorison.
Well, it would make sense that it comes with Emperor Thorison in season 3. It just says after that you've got Scholomance and you've got Moonglade and you've got Molten Core, but Molten Core is listed first, and then obviously Scholomance comes after. So maybe Scholomance is coming later. I, for some reason, had it in my head that Scholomance was coming before, but
I had it in my mind.
It'd make more sense. So. It would make more sense to have Molten Core when Emperor Thorison releases, but then when so for instance, like Fairy Dragon, that's a Moonglade thing.
Yeah.
So
you're right. So Scholomance would be after Moonglade.
Yes. So Scholomance would be if we are tying it thematically to some kind of mini related to that area, then yes, Scholomance would be after Moonglade. Moonglade is thematically tied to Fairy Dragon. But the reason I like the idea of bringing in a new faction is because it would mean that we have more factions than dungeons again. This is we've gone some sort of roundabout cycle to the point that I was trying to make it originally. But the point that I was trying to make originally was that we're going to have 5 families, 5 dungeons, which is going to make the dungeon rotation weird. I'd like to have Scholomance introduced with a new family type, maybe the Legion, because then it means that we can have the rotating dungeon maps again without it being too much of a problem. I just think it makes sense to do it that way, personally, because I just feel like there is a big opportunity to kind of build out more of the Warcraft lore into like having another Legion family. There's so many units they haven't used. There's like Infernals, there is like Doom Guards. There's loads of Legion units that I think could have a really good place in the game. And I just think that to me is what I would be doing if I was developing the game. Legion is a really, really cool faction, and once you've added your final BlackRock leader, so you've got 3 leaders per faction, just go onto a new faction to get a completely new faction.
So you just switch to a new faction. That's okay. I don't know. It's crazy. It's a crazy take, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff where I think if we are gonna get another faction, I think it's probably gonna be more like 1 year after the release of the game or something like that. In my humble opinion.
No, I think you're probably right. If I'm honest with you.
Mm-hmm. All right. So yeah, my point was 21st of January. We now have the official date. 21st of January, we are getting season 3. Mark your calendars. We are going to be streaming. And then we are going to have Thorison. And I think we are getting the raid during that period. I hopefully would like to have it in the middle of the season, just so we do have a little bit of like a little bit more engagement in the middle of the season, right? And then we would get to season 4, and we just mentioned what season 4 and beyond is going to be. We also have PvP revamp that is supposed to arrive. Okay, so we don't know when. They didn't give us any confirmation, but nonetheless, the season they release PvP revamp, I think this is going to be the biggest season. So if it's, I think it's, I mean, if they announce stuff, normally the way I see it, all they announce is probably what was the plan for the next 6 months. This is what I'm seeing. I don't think this was a yearly plan. I think this was probably like a 6-month plan. Is the way I'm seeing. Normally when you do a roadmap, you don't go like, or if that was like a year plan, I think they would have told us throughout the year we would see blah blah blah. So I think it's more of like a short to midterm plan. So I think PvP revamp is probably going to come season 3 or season 4, but I would lean towards season 3. And if season 3 comes with PvP revamp and the raid, that would be great. That would be fantastic. And we have a lot of stuff for PvP that we would like to see. And if PvP revamp comes with season 3 and we do get those changes, then it's going to be great. So, but they are going to have to implement those. I don't know for you, but I didn't expect them to have any big new functionality with season 2, because that was too short-lived after the release of the game. I think it was 5 weeks, right? Or 4 weeks, 5 weeks, because the first week of the season was during beta or during soft launch. But yeah, season 3 for me is going to be I don't want to use this word too loosely, but the breaking point, or we need some stuff in season 3. But until then, I think we have good season along the way with season 2. Like I just mentioned, the modifiers are going to be great. Yeah, anything else to add?
No, I think like season 3, I think we expected maybe season 2 to come with a bit more of a punch, but I think I've covered that in an alternate angle of conversation, which is kind of around the PvP aspect itself. Like season 2 just didn't really bring anything to the PvP aspect apart from a new map, which is great, but in terms of the PvP experience for most people, season 2 has meant nothing from that transition from season 1 to season 2. Mm-hmm. So I think maybe there'll be some learnings hopefully from season 1 and season 2, and we'll see season 3 come with a bigger punch, because once raids come out, that is the new big piece of content. Like I have been saying that we need more stuff in Warcraft Rumble to do, desperately just need more stuff to do. That isn't just doing your heroics, that isn't just doing your quests because they're boring as shit. There just needs to be some more stuff to do in Warcraft on a day-to-day basis. Especially once people start to get either through the campaign or get stuck on the campaign, there just needs to be something else for them to kind of dive into, and PvP is not enticing enough, so there just needs, like I said, an extra form, a piece of content is sorely needed in the game right now.
Yeah. Once again, I don't want to go too much into the topics that we are going to cover, but like, I think PvP is great. They need to incentivize more players to do PvP, because I do understand. So we are playing mostly PvP. I think that's fair to say, because we finished a campaign. But and we are also content creators that has spent money in the game. So we kind of cleared the whole campaign extremely quickly. But the majority of people are still in campaign, and then like you have to see a little bit like in WoW, like you clear the campaign and then you do PvP, right? So what they need is to actually just be ready when that mass audience finishes the campaign and feel ready to do PvP. The thing is, it's you know what? I'll stop it there. It's just the only thing I'm gonna say is that I think it's just too intimidating to actually get into PvP, and I think you just need to fix that. But we are gonna talk all about that. Just before then, we are gonna talk about, and this is a lighter topic. And every time we do a top 5, we take way too long. We are already 40 minutes in. So let's talk about our top 5 spells. And let's try to go quickly. We're talking spells, so this should be much easier to rank them. So is that all the spells we have in the game? So we only have 9 spells in the game.
Yeah, I was gonna say when you told me top 5 spells, and I was looking at the the fact that you listed out top 5 spells, I did think to myself, there aren't that many spells in the game. It'd probably be easy to cut this down to top 3, and it makes it feel like a bit more of a meaningful choice then. Because if it's top 5, you're literally choosing over half the spell roster.
Yeah, well, yeah. The idea when I was doing top 5 is that I think the top 3 is extremely obvious, and then
yeah.
So let's
okay. Shall we agree on the top 3 together, and then maybe think about top 4 and top 5? Because if we think the top 3 is extremely obvious,
okay, let's do that. All right, so we're gonna do in reverse order. Okay, we don't care. It's our podcast. We do whatever we want. Okay, so we're starting with 1. Should we just go with 1? Okay, 3, 2, 1, and then we both say it.
Yeah.
Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, are we including deep breath? We're not including deep breath. In this,
yes, we are. That's
okay.
Okay, well, 3, 2, 1, deep breath.
Deep breath.
Yeah. Deep breath. I actually, do you have deep breath yet?
I've not beaten Onyxia now.
So I haven't bested Onyxia either, but I think we're getting there fairly soon.
I need to get my meat wagon a little bit higher level, but if I can get an epic meat wagon, maybe I can get Onyxia a go.
But yeah, guys, this spell, if you guys don't know, you get this spell by beating Onyxia, and which is a really tough thing to do. But once you do get deep breath, it's just the best spell. It's so easy to get value. I think people are running the double dragon talent, which makes a second spell in the opposite direction. So kind of like the blizzard spell that does one at your base, but instead does it in the opposite direction of where you're playing yours. So you click, and then it has like a charging time where you aim, and then it's the spell is going to go into that direction, right? That's how Dragon Breath or Deep Breath, works. And which is very unique. I think it's the first spell that we have that it's actually like you can choose the direction, right? But when you have that talent, which has the opposite direction in PvP, you could just basically poke the enemy base for free for like a 1/6 of the health by just like aiming the deep breath downwards, and then the other hit is going upwards onto the enemy base. It's so just extremely OP. The damage is insane. You can see in the video it one-shots a Drake. So and the range is so long. There's just so much value. It drops so quickly. It's like a burst damage too. So it's like instead of Blizzard, it takes time, right? But this is just a burst damage. Yeah, I think we both agree, right? This one is OP.
This spell is dumb. Yeah, really dumb spell, and it's probably one of the reasons why Jaina is such a popular pick at the top level right now. You just get +3 levels in your deep breath, and as you mentioned, if you watch the Arclight Batteries videos, he's got deep breath, and he runs a Jaina deck where he's able to kind of tag the base with every single cycle of deep breath, and it just does an unbelievable amount of damage on one shots. Pretty much all of the minis in the game. So it's just
clears
crazy.
The base, clears the enemy, push, and does so much damage. As like an execute cycle, well, then you don't really get much more value than the damage on the base. Just ridiculous OP. Probably like 20 people or 30 people have this spell, maybe 50. I don't know. If we're like between top 50, top 100, there isn't many players that have deep breath.
Yeah, it is annoying that deep breath is gated behind the hardest fight in the game that requires very high level minis to get there. But I suppose it's a reward for,
but I don't think it should be broken.
No, I don't think it should be broken. I agree with you, and it kind of is broken. So.
All right. Let's go with our second one, which we might have different, or we won't. Okay.
All right, it might be different, but I think our 2 and 3 are probably going to be similar.
Yeah. Okay. So second, number 2. 1, 2, 3. Chain lightning.
Blizzard. Okay,
yeah.
It's
Okay.
going to be the other way around. Yeah.
Exactly. I was gonna say Blizzard, but then I think chain lightning is a little bit better, right? I don't know. They're probably tied at some point. I just find myself playing chain lightning just much more because it's cheaper and I have more cycle. But I get destroyed by Blizzard a lot of the times. But I feel like Blizzard, there's some sort of counterplay. You just split your unit. I mean, there is some counterplays, while Chain Lightning always gets a lot of value on everything.
Yeah.
They're both OP. They're both really good.
They're both really good for different situations, realistically. I think, like, when Old Murkai is really meta, Blizzard is really good because you just basically, it's one spell that completely destroys Old Murkai's entire playstyle.
Yeah.
The only thing that I do like about Blizzard is the correct way to play Blizzard right now is generally to use it to set up for attacks on the enemy base rather than kind of clearing minis on the map. You don't really want to be using Blizzard defensively because you're kind of wasting its potential. So you really want to be using Blizzard much like you would use Deep Breath, which is just you tag the base with the corner of the spell and you use it to freeze. And one of the things that I really like about it is Cold Snap completely freezes enemies in place so they cannot attack, they cannot move. And it just allows you to take really strong trades, especially when you're moving up on the enemy base. So the reason I like Blizzard and think it's just slightly better is it just favors that meta right now where it's all about just chipping away at the enemy base and trying to get as much damage down through passive spell rotations as possible. But Chain Lightning is much more flexible. It is, as you mentioned, it's 2 costs, so you can use it in a lot more variety of situations. And the aggro reset, if you've got the stun on it, is also really fantastic.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's our 2 and 3, so we'll jump to our 4th one. I guess I'm gonna let you. Do you have your 4th pick?
Yes.
Okay. I'll let you to it.
Arcane Blast.
Wow, that's a hot take.
So I used to not be part of the Arcane Blast Church, but now I kind of, after playing Alterac Valley quite a lot and actually watching enough Mr. Brute, I've realized that I kind of like what Arcane Blast offers. So Arcane Blast as a one cost is a stealth procer. So there's a lot of really annoying situations where you want to proc stealth. Safe Pilot, Huntress. Obviously on the previous map there was also Prowler. There is the Goblin Sappers plus Smoke Bomb combo that you can open up with just a single Arcane Blast, and you can even kill them with the second follow-up as well. And then it is much like Blizzard. It's more of like a late game Hail Mary play, but a full cycle in overtime of Arcane Blast on the enemy base deals a massive chunk of damage to the enemy base. And with the extending range talents, you extend the range at which each blast is applied, it can basically clear out any defenses pretty quickly as well. So amplification is like the only good talent that you can have on Arcane Blast. But yeah, I like it because it's, I think, very, very usable and very viable across a lot of situations, and I think like has its place in dealing with stealth units in the meta as well.
Yeah, I've actually thought about that. I was like, I play Chain Lightning all the time in like decks to kill a safe pilot, right? Or like, let's say your Chimaera that we were talking about earlier, their safe pilot drops. If you can just proc the stealth, Chimaera's gonna finish it off, or Dark Patrol, same thing, right? So the Chain Lightning, sometimes I think Arcane Blast can be better than Chain Lightning in a lot of scenarios with the stealth. But like and also it's even more cycle, right, than our Chain Lightning. So very, very good. My number 4 is Execute. So kind of similar to the whole idea of Blizzard and all of that. The Execute Jaina cycle list is pretty solid. Every time you play against a Jaina that has that is playing Execute cycle, you know you are on a timer. And every time Jaina is playing and Execute drops, you know you have to play aggressive. And all Jaina has to do is play as defensive as possible, which is easier to do on this map than it was on the other map, because there's not the gold mine, or if you control the gold mine, you can easily just keep control without being much more aggressive and just cycle executes and execute and execute. So yeah, also the lanes are smaller, so it's much more easy to defend. I think execute is just very solid right now, but especially in that Jaina list.
I think my opinion on the Jaina list is that if I was running the Execute Jaina list, I'd rather just run the Blizzard Jaina list, because Blizzard gets a little bit more utility,
Or the Dragon's Breath.
and does a similar amount of damage to the base. Yeah, I think you get more flat damage to the base, but you do get way more utility and usability out of Blizzard. But the direct damage that Execute can do to structures is very strong. The only problem is that, you know, it's a much smaller radius than Blizzard. It's much harder to capture units and the base. So therefore, you are usually throwing 3 gold at the base, and especially on this map where it can be difficult to wrestle control of the gold map, the gold veins as a Jaina, because you're obviously using a lot of your resources to get some chip damage on the base.
I have yet to try the. I've talked about that on another podcast of ours, but I'm wondering if Overpower, which knocks back enemy, what happens if you knock back an enemy in the water?
Into the water, yeah.
I'm trying to get the talent, so I'm upgrading my execute, but it's not appearing that much in my shop. I think I'm at, 7 out of 10. So once I do get my rare execute, I'll try that. Who knows? It might be broken if it works. I
should try it, to be fair. I actually have got Overpower, so I should actually try it. Yeah, I have to try it.
Yeah. So execute was my number 4. Do you have a number 5 to close this Rumblecast?
It's difficult because there's a lot of spells on this list that have got some recent utility, like Cheat Death has suddenly become pretty popular because of the Goblin Sapper's Cheat Death combo, but I don't think...
Cheat Death. I think people just don't know how to deal against it. So Chain Lightning, people just wait at the last second before playing their Chain Lightning. Just play it immediately.
Play it straight away. Yeah.
So
I actually also don't mind blizzarding Goblin Sapper plus Cheat Death, because it's an even trade. Like it's an even gold trade at that point. So you're not losing any gold by doing that.
Because it's 2 plus 3.
Oh, it's Goblin Sapper's 2. Yeah, Goblin Sapper's 2. So, yes, it was a positive. It's a positive gold trade in your favor. So that's a very expensive combo to run that is quite easily dealt with. Yeah, I think me and you probably will have a similar number 5. I think it's Polymorph. I think Polymorph is, out of the remaining spells, the more ubiquitously useful spell. It's got more use cases than the rest of the spells on the list. I think Holy Nova is strong, but again, like it has certain use cases. I think Smoke Bomb is strong, but people have started to realize how to deal with that, and Chain Lightning obviously being so popular makes Smoke Bomb a kind of meh. So for me, like Polymorph is just like that last like sort of top spell on the list. I think it's just very useful in a lot of variety of situations. The only issue with Polymorph is justifying a deck slot for it. But I think you could say that for a lot of the sort of the lower down spells. It's all about like how do you justify a deck slot for it. But it does help you if you're going up against like Dracosath decks and Tyrion decks. Like Polymorph is just like an ultimate killer for those types of decks.
Yeah, I was actually going to go probably for Arcane Blast as number 5, as you placed it number 4. But I want to give an honorable mention to the Smoke Bomb as well, which is played with the Sappers, and that's pretty much it. But it's still pretty good. Have you seen any other plays with the Smoke Bomb other than the Sappers? Not really, right?
Not really. I mean, I think there is a use case for the Through the Shadow or Strangers in the Night talent, where you're trying to get you're trying to get like an important unit past a counter, so you can kind of like stealth the enemy mini as well, and so therefore you can kind of like sneak a unit past a counter. But like I think that's such a niche use case scenario. I just don't know how frequently it's going to work.
Yeah, and well, obviously there's the Maev interaction, where if you smoke bomb the Maev, then
she gets her AoE back, right?
Yeah, she gets her AoE back, which does a ton of damage. So you can, for 1 gold, get it back instantly. And I think all the other stealth minis. What happens with the safe pilot if you do play smoke bomb? Does it get another ambush hit, or is that only the first hit?
I don't know, actually. Good. That's a good question. Again, a question we need to ask the devs.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's going to be it for my half. We are going to jump on Excoundrel's side for the second half. But guys, make sure to obviously go subscribe to to Excoundrel, but the sound of my game just started playing for some reason. Yeah, so make sure to go subscribe to Excoundrel, and also make sure to tell us down below all your thoughts. We love reading your all your thoughts on the Chimera. On do you guys think we're gonna get the raid in January? When do you guys think PvP revamp is gonna be? What are you guys' top 5 is? Make sure to tell us what is your top 5 spell as well. Yeah. All right, guys, that's going to be it. We'll see you guys in the next one. And go jump on Excoundrel's channel, which he is supposed to post at the same time this week and not delayed.
I'll do my best. I will do my best. Okay?
All right,
do my
guys.
best.
We'll see you guys in just a minute. Take care. Bye, guys.